takes on WGNY 1220 94.5 News Talk Sports. My name is Jake McVey, and I'm joined here by my co-host, Matthew Galgano, and today we're going to be talking some ball. Matt, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great today. How about you?
I am feeling great. If you're a football fan, stick around. We got plenty of good stuff in store for you. If you're not a football fan, stick around. We'll probably change your mind by the end of this episode. We got some great discussions to be had today. We're talking about the Jets and Aaron Rodgers. We're talking about all sorts of AFC wildcard madness. We're talking about what may be the greatest regular season game of all time. We're talking about Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers. We're talking about even more wildcard madness as that 7-seed race comes down to a close. And then we're finishing off the day talking about some Pro Bowl snubs. So the Pro Bowl kind of got messed up. And speaking of messed up, the Jets and Aaron Rodgers. What do you think?
Yeah, they are pretty messed up, but it's kind of a question of whose fault is it? I mean, it's a bad season, and they didn't even reach the win total of last season. Without Aaron Rodgers, they had Zach Wilson last year, and they played better. So this is definitely not what the Jets were envisioning when they traded for Rodgers. So whose fault do you think it is?
Honestly, I know that the common opinion at this point is that Aaron Rodgers is a death sentence for any NFL team that decides to pick him up at this point. But I think if you look at the decisions that management has made throughout the Rodgers era, I think Woody Johnson and Joe Douglas are just terrible. And I think that their decisions to get on their knees and beg Aaron Rodgers for anything that he wants to come and play for them, I think you can't sell out your team like that. And I understand that Aaron Rodgers is incredibly influential and has been incredibly talented in the league for a very long time. But I think it's up to management to be able to put their foot down in these kinds of situations.
No, I think Rodgers is definitely at fault here. I mean, he had a wish list when he came to New York. I mean, he made them sign Mike Williams, made them sign Lazard, made them trade for Davante Adams, and bring in Nathaniel Hackett as the offensive coordinator. And all of those things have been low impact, not affected the Jets positively in any sense of the word, pretty much. I mean, even the Davante Adams trade, that seemed like a slam dunk. And at the time, it was like, yeah, make that trade. And if that doesn't work out, then you know it won't work out. And so far, it hasn't worked out. And a lot of that is because their offensive scheme just looks so stale. But I don't think Rodgers is doing the Jets any favors right now. And it just seems like he wanted to be Brady and go to another team and win a ring. And honestly, I feel like this Sunday might be his last game. So we'll see.
I mean, I think that's very hard to say. I think statistically, it's not like Rodgers has necessarily been underperforming. He's had stats comparable to Patrick Mahomes this season, and I understand that Mahomes is kind of having a down year offensively, but still, that's nothing to scoff at. I mean, he was very close in completion percentage, yards, and touchdowns, even throwing less interceptions, I do believe. But what I'll say is that the guys that Rodgers decided to bring on, I'll say Davante Adams and Allen Lazard specifically, they were not that bad of signings. Allen Lazard has been a perfectly serviceable wide receiver when he's on the field, and Davante Adams has even shown flashes of his previous self that we saw in Green Bay. I think, again, Woody Johnson and Joe Douglas just making terrible decision after terrible decision, running this franchise into the ground all so that they could be like Tampa Bay, where they could go out and get a superstar quarterback from his longtime team and put together an all-star cast and go out and win. I think if Aaron Rodgers is going to have that control of the team, why wouldn't he take it, right? I think it's up to management in those situations to not bend to the whim of every single thing your quarterback wants.
Well, yeah, I'm definitely not saying that the Jets are good management. I mean, they've been some of the worst management forever in the history of sports, really. But I just don't think Rodgers is the answer or is really the answer for any team at this point in his career. I mean, he's looked okay. He's looked okay in the last couple of games, and that's because his connection with Davante Adams has really settled in recently. But I just don't think that any of the signings that he made really had any impact, and that's my take on it.
I mean, yeah, it's certainly were a lot of questionable signings and pickups. Obviously, the Mike Williams pickup has been disastrous for the Jets. I don't know why they even decided to go out and get him. I mean, Mike Williams, it's not like he was a stud in LA. I understand the role that he fills. He's a big body guy. He can go up, he can make a catch, he can, come down and kind of bully defenders. And Nathaniel Hackett just, what are you doing? What are you doing? You see the failure that he brought to Denver and just the absolute dumpster fire that organization became under his management. And I would not want to touch that guy with a 10-foot pole if I'm a member of the Jets organization.
Yeah, I agree. And something that really, Aaron Rodgers wanted Mike Williams to be in New York this season, and they traded him to Pittsburgh, and there was a play where they disagreed, and Rodgers proceeded to call out Mike Williams after the game, and then the week after he got traded to the Steelers and beat the Jets, he got a touchdown, and then he called out Aaron Rodgers in that. So it just shows that the people he brought in, he didn't even have a good relationship with. And I just don't think he deserves another shot from an NFL franchise.
Yeah, Rodgers is just pure drama. And pure drama does not lead to a successful football team, no matter how talented of a player Aaron Rodgers is, and no matter how much talent he surrounds himself with. Honestly, you're kind of changing my mind here. I think Aaron Rodgers might actually be more to blame than I was letting on earlier. Of course, I think it comes down to a lot of bad management. I mean, you can't forget the infamous Jerry Jeudy Madden rating situation. For those who don't know, Woody Johnson based his decision on whether or not to trade for Jerry Jeudy last offseason based on his Madden rating. And if you're looking at the numbers Jerry Jeudy is putting up now, it definitely was a mistake in hindsight.
And he also made a Pro Bowl with Deshaun Watson and Jameis Winston as his quarterback. So...
Yeah, it's just the Jets are very indicative of what a poorly run franchise actually looks like in practice. We always talk about how certain franchises like the Cardinals and the Texans and the Jaguars are poorly run franchises. You want a textbook example of how to set your franchise back 10 years, look at the Jets. Woody Johnson should not be making any decisions for this Jets team from now until the day he retires. He does not know what he's talking about, and he's making these decisions that are crippling the Jets. Like, they have the potential, and you saw it when 2 years ago, things weren't looking so good on offense, but that defense was so stout, and they were so good. And Robert Saleh was a great coach that the team was really rallying behind, and now you look at the Jets today, and they don't have any of that.
Well, the thing is, I don't think necessarily Robert Saleh was a great coach, but firing him mid-season just made no sense. And so early in the season, it just genuinely made no sense. And I feel like that was also because of Rodgers. Rodgers wanted to put the team on his back.
Yeah.
And Rodgers put the team on his back and led them to what, like 4 wins they have now?
Yeah. And it reeks of a franchise that is unstable. And speaking of unstable, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, man.
What
a game last night.
Game last night. The Steelers lost to the Bengals last night, securing them as a wild card team. They missed out on the division win with a Baltimore win and a Pittsburgh loss yesterday. It is not looking good for Pittsburgh right now. What do you think?
I mean, this is just the signature Mike Tomlin team. I mean, they got out to 10-3, and now they're sitting at 10-7. Assuming the Chargers beat the Raiders today. They will be playing the Ravens in the first round of the playoffs on the road, so it's not looking too good for them. I don't think anyone is expecting them to win that. And just so poor offensive game plan. Such a poor offensive game plan at the end of the game. I think it might have been one of the worst 2-minute drills I've ever seen. I mean, Russell Wilson steps up, and instead of throwing it away to save time, he decides to run for 2 or 3 yards and then waste like 15 seconds on the clock. And then he throws an incompletion, and then he takes a sack, and then they have to use their final timeout, and then it's a Pat Freiermuth to drop to end the game. Ooh. So just an awful. And Wilson, who's a veteran who should not be making these mistakes, I mean, running for those 3 yards was absolutely pointless. I mean, at that point, your field position matters a lot, but not necessarily in your run game. Just your clock matters the most. And he overthrew George Pickens, who also had a terrible game last night. Even though Russ was missing him a couple times, he had 3 awful drops that went right through his hand that would have helped the game a lot. and it's like the Bengals gave them so many chances to win that game. So it's just reeking of first round exit, and it's a disappointment because they had a lot of promise coming into like 3 weeks ago. So
Yeah, I can remember a time not so long ago where I personally ranked the Pittsburgh Steelers as the third best team in the AFC behind Kansas City and Buffalo, but it feels like the team that came into the season very early and dominated very hard has just completely dissolved. And this is not a new thing when it comes to Mike Tomlin. We've seen it year in and year out, how he breaks even or he gets to his no losing season and then just completely collapses. Pittsburgh looks like they're poised for a first-round exit against the Baltimore Ravens next week, and it looks like it's going to be another year of failure, another year of successful failure under Mike Tomlin.
yeah, they'll keep going on this cycle where they don't get a high enough draft pick, and then they get a winning season, and then we see the Fox Sports graphic. Oh, Mike Tomlin another winning season, and then they just decide they either get first rounded or just don't make the playoffs in general. So I don't know. We will see.
And it's a shame because that team was electric in the beginning of the season. But speaking of electric, the Chargers, them Bolts.
What a transition.
Most likely going to be up against the Houston Texans in the first round. What do you make of that matchup?
I think the Chargers will take care of the Texans. I mean, the Texans are just so depleted right now. I mean, not having Tank Dell and not having Stephon Diggs has clearly really affected that team offensively, and their offensive line is just abysmal. But their defense is good, and the Chargers have had an inconsistent offense this year, but they clicked last week against the Patriots, putting a 40 on their heads. So we'll see what they do today against the Raiders. They will probably play their starters for a decent amount, considering that I feel like they would much rather play the Texans than the Ravens in the first round.
Yeah.
So I think the Chargers will win against the Texans, but we'll have to see if they beat the Raiders today.
Yeah, this is currently assuming that if the Chargers beat the Raiders today, then they lock up the 5 seed and they play Houston in Houston. And honestly, I agree with you pretty much on all fronts. Houston has just been completely decimated by injuries, specifically on their offense. I mean, Tank Dell may never be the same again. That gruesome injury that he got against Kansas City. Stephon Diggs going down very early in the season definitely didn't help. And C.J. Stroud has not looked like the confident young quarterback that I think we expected to see out of him going into his sophomore year. I mean, easy offensive rookie of the year last season. People were speculating that he may even be in MVP conversations this year, but I don't think he's even close. And it may be another year or two before we see a really comfortable C.J. Stroud being able to lead Houston to a deep playoff run. Like, I think we kind of had expectations for Stroud after his rookie year.
I mean, I definitely did. It's definitely disappointing because I don't feel like I don't really know if any Texans fans are expecting to win this game going into the Chargers, but we will see. I mean, they still have a good defense. They still have Will Anderson Jr. They still have Danielle Hunter, who are 2 of the best pass rushers in the league. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. We will see. They have Derek Stingley Jr., who made the Pro Bowl as a cornerback in the AFC. So, I don't know. We will see. Their defense still is their strongest case, but the good defense is not going to win you a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and a good defense doesn't matter if a team only needs to score a touchdown and a field goal in order to beat you. You know, if the offense can't generate anything, it just means that the defense is just holding out, praying that maybe the offense can get something started. A good defense with a bad offense is one of the most horrible things to watch in football because it is just one half of the team fighting for their lives every single play, while the other half of the team just completely flounders and fails to accomplish anything.
But I think the Chargers will take care of business if they play the Texans. I mean, they could still play the Ravens, and that's a bit of a different discussion, but they will most likely play the Texans.
Yeah, I don't know. See, I still think the Texans have some room to surprise people. I think the Ravens' loss was really bad, but I think at this point they don't really have much to lose by just going out there and playing hard. So I guess we're just going to have to see how it goes next week. Stay tuned, folks, because coming up next, we are talking about what may be the biggest regular season game of all time, Minnesota versus Detroit. And then coming up, we are also talking about Brock Purdy and the 49ers. He's asking for a big chunk of change, and I have some opinions on whether or not the 49ers should actually follow through with that. Stay tuned right here for Jake's Hot Takes, WGNY 94.5, 1220 FM.
Thinking about remodeling your kitchen or bath? Wayne's Way Wholesale Cabinets has a great selection of all wood cabinets in the styles and colors to make your remodeling dreams come to life. Go to wayneswaycabinets.com for more info. Wayne's Way Cabinets, 1829 South Road, Wappingers Falls. Call 845-280-0880. Stop by and talk to Wayne today. You'll be glad you did. CDS Auto and Truck Repair is your 5-star one-stop shop for all your vehicle's needs from A to Z, offering full vehicle diagnostics. Towing is available, and they now offer fleet service. CDS Auto and Truck Repair. Call 845-563-9987. That's 845-563-9987. CDS Auto and Truck Repair, 2917 Route 9W, New Windsor.
Storage Bar Self-Storage is a temperature-controlled facility in New Windsor. Demands for storage tend to be driven by many life changes. Box, organize, save, simplify. Servicing business, organizations, military, and residential customers. Convenient, economical, and clean. Military, veteran, public safety, local business, and senior discounts offered. Call 845-562-BOOK or 845-562-2665 to reserve your unit today.
You've long known that Newburgh Auto Spa on Route 17K utilizes top caliber products and the latest technology to give your vehicle the proper maintenance it needs. Whether it be a computerized soft cloth car wash, detailing consisting of a comprehensive bumper-to-bumper cleaning of your entire interior and exterior, or a fuel-efficient oil change from a trained technician, Newburgh Auto Spa is the place to go. Now, Newburgh Auto Spa is a full-service automotive center. That's right, Newburgh Auto Spa now offers tires, brakes, rotors, tune-ups, alternators, and more, all with the same professionalism and quality you've become accustomed to. For a full list of automotive services offered in specials, go to NewburghAutoSpa.com. Whether you need a basic car wash, a quick oil change, or now more extensive automotive service, Newburgh Auto Spa is the place to go. Newburgh Auto Spa, quick, convenient, clean, located at 86 Route 17K and online at NewburghAutoSpa.com. Now offering a full range of automotive services. Newburgh Auto Spa, quick, convenient, clean.
Need a new oven? Then the place to go is Michael's Appliance Center. They are committed to providing excellent value and service. Whether you need a stove, washer and dryer, or refrigerator, they offer a multitude of products in every price range. Customers at Michael's Appliance Center receive exceptional guidance and support from their highly trained, knowledgeable sales staff. Shop for appliances ranging from dishwashers to outdoor grills. Visit Michael's Appliance Center, 585 Main Street in Middletown, or go online to michaelsappliance.com.
We are back. Thank you for coming back and staying with us. It's a big night tonight, Matt.
It is a big night. Probably the game of the year, honestly. I mean, we have two 14-2 teams in the Vikings and the Lions playing for that one seed. And the loser gets the 5th seed. I mean, that is a huge blow to either team.
Yeah, it is absolutely brutal, the loss that one of these teams is going to incur tonight. Minnesota versus Detroit. It is the first regular season game in NFL history played between two teams that have 13 or more wins, and both of these teams have 14 wins. So this is already absolutely massive. Like you just said, the winner locks up the NFC North and the 1 seed. The loser gets sent to the wild card round. Detroit won the first matchup. Matt, what are you seeing next?
I think Minnesota's got this. I mean, Detroit has been in the front runner for the NFC 1 seed all year, but I think this is the week it finally catches up to them. It's just the NFC North divisional matchup, and Minnesota is a great team that's firing on all cylinders right now. I think it'll be a high-scoring game, but Detroit, they are getting Alexander Zalone back this game, which will be helpful. They're a linebacker, but the Minnesota offense is just too good for this, honestly, just like hospital of a Detroit defense.
See, that's where I think you're wrong. I think this Detroit team, culturally, under Dan Campbell and under Jared Goff, is so gritty and so tough. They know how to play through adversity. This is a team that has done nothing throughout their entire franchise's history but face adversity. And I think this is a situation where now they're facing adversity and they have a chance to prove that those decades of being failures was worth it. was worth all the time spent. They're going to be able to push through these injuries. And I still have Detroit making a pretty deep playoff run out of the NFC. I know a lot of people are counting them out, but this team, even with the injuries they've incurred, they are so scrappy. They are so tough. They will play you every single play until the last whistle of the game, no matter what. And as much as I like Minnesota as a team, I could very well also see them making a deep playoff run. I don't know if they are built to last like this Detroit team is. I mean, think about all the injuries this team has incurred, and they've still managed to be successful. It's not like they've taken all of these injuries and they've completely fallen off. They've taken all these injuries, and they're still 14-2. I think that speaks a lot to the character of this team and their ability to overcome this adversity.
Yeah, but eventually these injuries are going to catch up to them, and this is going to be the week where it does catch up to them. And I like the Lions. I would like to see them make the playoffs, and they're going to make the playoffs. I would like to see them make a run in the playoffs, but I think Minnesota is just too good of a team, and Minnesota has a lot to play for. And both teams have a lot to play for, but both teams are going to be playing their hearts out. But I think when it comes down to it, this Minnesota defense is very good. So I think they'll actually play the Lions defense pretty well and have some success against them. But I think that the Detroit defense will have some issues with the Minnesota offense. I mean, Justin Jefferson, he's playing out of his mind. He's great. Sam Darnold is playing out of his mind. He's great. Kevin O'Connell is a great coach. And they have Jordan Addison, too, who's a great number 2. And they have a good defense. So I just think you have to take them in this. I think they'll be the 1 seed, and they'll get the 1 seed bye.
See, that's where I got to disagree. I think I think it is going to come down to a shootout, ultimately. But I think Detroit's offense is better at controlling the clock, and I think they're better, a more efficient offense. They might not necessarily be as explosive as the kinds of plays that Jefferson or Addison can give you, but Jahmyr Gibbs on the ground, we thought he might be struggling a little bit without Montgomery, but he looks to be doing just fine. This team is so good at being efficient and controlling the clock and just grinding down the opposing defenses. You know, big plays out of the offense are great, and they're great for momentum, but ultimately they're not the main thing that you can rely on in order to win against another high-caliber offense. You want to be able to hold on to the ball and take defenses to a screeching halt and force them to play, these 10, 12, 14-play drives. It really wears a team down as opposed to one big play. The defense now gets off the field. They get all sorts of rest. And then, they can come out next series and make a big play. If you hold a team's defense out on the field for even eight play drives, that is going to seriously grind a defense down over the course of a game.
I mean, it's definitely going to be a shootout. I mean, the Lions in their past 3 games, they've let up over 30 points in the last 3 of their last 4 games. And last week against the 49ers, which is a team that is so injured and struggling a lot offensively this year, they let up 34 points. So the Lions keep putting themselves in positions where their offense has to score so many points to keep up in games. And this Vikings defense led by Brian Flores is just so good right now. And it's going to be hard for them to keep up, I think, because the Vikings offense is also very good. They're also a very well-rounded team right now. And I don't know. I just think that this is going to be the week where these injuries really catch up to them.
Well, I guess we're just going to have to see tonight. And speaking of seeing, terrible transition, but the 49ers, Brock Purdy has requested a $290 million 5-year contract. Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I'm sure I could have thought of a transition that involved a lot of money, but it's besides the point. I think that this decision will ruin the 49ers. I think if they sign Brock Purdy to 5 years, $290 million, I think that is the end of the Kyle Shanahan dominance that we've seen out of San Francisco these past couple seasons. I think that this team has way too many all-pro or Pro Bowl caliber players, too many mouths that they need to feed. And Brock Purdy is just not on the same level as a lot of these guys that need prioritization over the next 5 years. What do you think?
I have to hard disagree with that. I mean, this is the 3rd year of Brock Purdy. He has so much room to grow as an NFL player. I mean, his weakness is his arm strength, but his timing, his ability to throw on the run is there. He has definitely those traits of a good quarterback that can run a system well. And this is just an awful year for the 49ers. I mean, McCaffrey was injured. Debo was injured for a bit. He's not playing that well. Ayuk is injured. Trent Williams was injured. I mean, literally every single talent they had besides Purdy on the offense was injured for a little bit. So this is his numbers being down. I think you just got to attribute to the injuries when it comes down to it, they have an all-star cast at all times when everyone is healthy. So I don't think this is the end of Brock Purdy's success. I mean, he took the team to the Super Bowl, and it's so hard to go to the Super Bowl in this league as a quarterback, and you have to play well to go to the Super Bowl. So if he's well enough to go to the Super Bowl, I think they should continue bet on him and continue their success.
The first thing I'll say in response to that is that Brock Purdy did not take the 49ers to the Super Bowl. The 49ers took Brock Purdy to the Super Bowl. I think if you take that team, I think there are 15 other quarterbacks in the NFL right now that could have taken that team to a Super Bowl and possibly won over that Kansas City team. And as a matter of fact, I'm so confident in this, I made a list. So I want you to stop me when you hear a quarterback that you do not think is better than Brock Purdy right here and right now, okay? Patrick Mahomes.
No.
Josh Allen.
No.
Lamar Jackson.
No.
Jared Goff.
No.
Joe Burrow.
Nope.
Jalen Hurts.
Nope.
Matthew Stafford.
Nope.
Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I think Purdy's better than Darnold. I mean, he was playing on that Niners. He was Purdy's backup last year.
Sure, but I mean, if Purdy was on the Vikings right now, Purdy would be the backup to Darnold. I don't see any world where Purdy manages to take a starting spot like that from Darnold.
Have to disagree with that.
Trevor Lawrence.
No.
C.J. Stroud.
This year, no. Purdy's better than Stroud this year.
I'm not. I think I might have to disagree with you on that. I don't have the stats in front of me, but I think just off the eye test, I think I would give the nod to C.J. Stroud. I have a couple rookies here. I think Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, and Bo Nix are all better than Brock Purdy right now.
I wouldn't take Williams or Nix, but maybe Daniels. I mean, Daniels is really good at rushing the ball, so he definitely has that up on him.
And my last two are Jordan Love and Baker Mayfield.
Yeah. I mean, Mayfield was close, but I think Love is definitely better. He definitely harnesses a bit more of like a true passer, arm strength than Purdy. But I still think Purdy is really good at managing the game, and that's the thing about the quarterback position is that you have to manage the game. People call him, he's a game manager. If they rename the quarterback position game manager, that would be a valid thing because you have to manage the game well as the quarterback.
But that's the thing. I just don't see Purdy. I don't think that Purdy has the ability to elevate his receivers and his players the way that a guy like Joe Burrow or Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes or even at this point a guy like Matthew Stafford, who I think Matthew Stafford does a great job of elevating his receivers. But Purdy, the offense does not generate from Purdy's ability to elevate it. It generates from George Kittle and Brandon Ayuk and how good the offensive line is and Christian McCaffrey. All of those factors are much more paramount to the 49ers' offensive success than Brock Purdy right now. But I mean, think about all the mouths they need to feed. They got Christian McCaffrey, they got Trent Williams, they got George Kittle, they got Fred Warner, they got Nick Bosa, they got Talanoa Hufanga. These are all guys who in 5 years are either going to be too old to compete or not going to be on the 49ers anymore because they sank almost $300 million and 5 years of their lives into Brock Purdy.
My thing is that the Niners know that they have McCaffrey right now. They have all this talent right now. Their window is now. If they were to draft a new quarterback, that would be a reset on that window. So what do you think they should do if they don't sign Purdy?
I think they either got to sign Purdy for less or they just got to let him walk. Hope they can find somebody in the draft. This team has too much talent to not do that. Anyway, we are going to commercial real quick. Stay tuned, folks.
You know us for 50 years. Fishkill Wine and Liquor. We've been in the CVS Plaza, and we've been your trusted family-owned and operated store. Fishkill Wine and Liquor has the largest selection at the very best price in the Hudson Valley. When you stop by Fishkill Wine and Liquor, ask about our wine tastings and the sampling of other spirits. Don't waste your time at the other liquor stores that simply don't have it. Stop by Fishkill Wine and Liquor, 986 Main Street, Fishkill, conveniently located in the CVS Plaza. Oh, and make sure you tell somebody.
This is Derek Wanku, president of Walden Savings Bank, and we're looking for our next community champion. Whether it's an individual volunteer or an entire organization, Walden Savings Bank wants to recognize those doing great things in our community with $1,000. To nominate a community champion, just go to energy103fm.com, click on the WSB logo. They could be our next community champion. Walden Savings Bank, your bank, our community, waldensavings.bank.
Ciao, I'm Frank Guido. For over 50 years, the Guido family has been continually serving our friends and neighbors throughout the entire Hudson Valley. My son Mark and I, along with our entire staff, would like to thank everyone for your loyal patronage and support. Our mission has always been to serve the highest quality food and drink with the friendliest service at affordable prices and in the safest environment. We promise never to depart from this goal, and at the same time strive to improve to meet your needs and changing tastes. Please join us uptown at Front Street Tavern, midtown at Frank Guido's Little Italy, or at the Port of Call in Catskill. It is our honor to serve you. We look forward to seeing our old friends and hopefully meet some new ones. Thank you again. Ciao and God bless.
Your engine is a delicate instrument. But if you don't change the oil on a regular basis, things have a tendency to go wrong. That's why this news should be music to your ears. Because now at the Newburgh Auto Spa, you can get a free car wash with every oil change. That's right, a free car wash with every oil change.
Really?
Really. Stop into their state-of-the-art facility today and find out what quality maintenance is all about. We all need to get oil changes, so why not get a free car wash to go along with it? And while you're at it, take advantage of their 15-point vehicle inspection free of charge. That should leave you on a very happy note. Newburgh Auto Spa, located at 86 Route 17K in Newburgh. For more information, call 845-567-0009, 845-567-0009, or go online to newburghautospa.com. That's newburghautospa.com. Newburgh Auto Spa. Quick, convenient, clean.
And we are back. How are you feeling, Matt?
I'm feeling all right.
All right. Cincinnati Bengals. It's time to have this conversation because I am tired of the discussion about them. I think the Cincinnati Bengals, here's my take. Look me in the eyes. I think the Cincinnati Bengals are the most overrated team in the NFL, and I think they might be one of the most overrated teams we have seen in recent history. If you think the Cincinnati Bengals stand a chance against the Buffalo Bills in the first round of the playoffs, you are delusional. I'm sorry. You're delusional. This team has so many holes in it on so many fronts. Their offensive line is abysmal. Their defense is the worst that we've seen in the Joe Burrow era, which is saying something because this defense has been historically bad the last 5 years. I just don't see any world where Cincinnati doesn't get obliterated by Buffalo. I understand that Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Chase Brown make for an incredibly dynamic and fun-to-watch offense, but fun to watch does not mean good football. Cincinnati fans should be hoping they don't make the playoffs this year because they don't want to get embarrassed by Buffalo on national television in front of everybody. Let Denver go and do that.
No, I think that of the three teams, I think Cincinnati actually has the best shot to beat them. I feel like Denver and Miami, I feel like they can both have a chance to beat them, but Cincinnati, I mean, of those three teams, they definitely have the most high-powered offense and the offense with the most potential to beat Buffalo. I mean, Buffalo's going to hang up probably 30-plus on their heads, but also I feel like Cincinnati can put up 30-plus on them.
With that defense, it wouldn't surprise me if Buffalo went upwards of 45 points on them. I'm so serious.
I don't know about that. I mean,
James Cook would make that defensive line look like Swiss cheese.
I don't know. I feel like you're underrating them a bit. I feel like Joe Burrow, his connection with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins is just so elite. And if they, I know their defense. This is if their defense was better, Joe Burrow would be heavy in MVP talks if their record was better and if the defense was better. So I think once you get to the playoffs, record doesn't matter, and it's just can you win? And I think they can beat Buffalo.
Well, here's my thought process. If Joe Burrow can go and throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, and Jamar Chase can go for 200 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns, and the Bengals still lose, what's the point? He may as well have thrown for 0 yards. It doesn't mean anything if your team can score 40 points, but you need to score 47 points in order to win every game because your defense is letting up 47 points. I mean, how valuable is Joe Burrow really to the team if the team is unable to have any success whatsoever?
Well, I mean, this is like exactly what I was saying about the Lions. I mean, the Lions the Lions have a bad defense, and so do the Bengals, but they have a high-powered offense, and they should be able to keep up with any team.
I wouldn't put the Lions' defense even in the same stratosphere as how bad the Bengals' defense is. I understand that the Lions' defense is struggling with a few injuries here and there, or a lot of injuries here and everywhere. But Cincinnati's defense, even perfectly healthy, looks like a high school defense out there. They just get embarrassed week in and week out. And that is just not indicative of a successful football team. And anyone thinking that Cincinnati is like a scary playoff sneak in, oh, Buffalo doesn't want to see Cincinnati, Kansas City doesn't want to see Cincinnati. I would not pick Cincinnati over any of the current AFC playoff teams, not even Pittsburgh.
The thing about Cincinnati is that it's undeniable that they have some of the best talent in the NFL. Like, the talented players, I mean, you look at someone like, obviously Jamar Chase, he's probably going to win the Triple Crown. Joe Burrow, he's been playing out of his mind. And you even take a guy like Trey Hendrickson on that defense. He's playing out of his mind too. It's just like, I feel like part of the Bengals' struggles right now is money more than anything. They are not too well on money right now, and the reason why their defense is struggling is because the year they made it to the Super Bowl was definitely the year they had the best defense, and they had guys like Jesse Bates, they had guys like Von Bell, who they still have now, but they couldn't keep because they had no money, and they let a bunch of those guys walk, and that's why their defense is weaker. But they still have guys like Trey Hendrickson who can make plays. They still have a guy like Jamar Chase. They still have a guy like Joe Burrow, T. Higgins. And the offensive line is playing okay. It's playing probably the best it's been in the Burrow era. I mean, it's been notoriously bad in the Burrow era, but this is the best it's been playing. I think they have a chance to beat anyone in the AFC.
It almost makes me wonder, is Jamar Chase more trouble than he's worth?
No.
Is paying Jamar Chase a lot of money, which Cincinnati's going to do. They're going to give him just a crud ton of money. Is it worth completely crippling the rest of the team in order to have that kind of talent on the team? You know, you think back to Kansas City and Tyreek Hill a couple of years ago, where everyone thought, oh my gosh, Kansas City is crazy for trading away Tyreek Hill. You know, their offense is going to be completely different. And the offense did become completely different, but they used the picks and they used the free cap space to sign Chris Jones long term. They used those draft picks to draft McDuffie and Karlaftis, who have been phenomenal for them. It almost makes me wonder if the Bengals would be better off just cutting Jamar Chase loose and committing to a guy like T. Higgins, who has proven to be able to step into that wide receiver 1 spot and has been very successful. And I understand that having a really high caliber wide receiver 1 makes it a lot easier for a wide receiver 2 to perform, but I'm still confident in T. Higgins' ability to be a wide receiver 1.
The thing about the Bengals also is that I think they definitely should pay Jamar. They definitely will pay Jamar. The thing about the Bengals is that they haven't hit on draft picks in recent years, and that's really how you keep success going, so you got to bring talent in and home grow it. And they just haven't been able to do that, so that's really their biggest issue is money and drafting. And but I still think they have a lot of talent and they can beat anyone.
Speaking of beating anyone, the Dolphins have to beat someone tonight.
They have to beat the Jets.
The Jets. You're going to that game tonight, right?
Yes, I will be there to watch Tyler Huntley live play Aaron Rodgers. That will be an experience.
Exciting.
But I don't know. They first the Chiefs backups have to beat Denver, and then Miami has to beat the Jets. So Cincinnati and Miami even sniffing the playoffs all leans on the Chiefs' backup. So we'll see if that even happens. I mean, I feel like of the three teams, I feel like the Chiefs would probably want to play the Broncos in the playoffs, or probably want the Broncos in the playoffs. Because do you think they have the best chance to beat the Bills of the three?
Yeah, I think the Broncos do. Maybe Miami if Tua's healthy, just because of the divisional matchup. Those teams are always so vicious against each other, and realistically, Miami would be a very easy divisional round opponent if they did play. I mean, again, with the divisional rival thing, if Denver did manage to beat Buffalo, I would be quite nervous as a Kansas City fan going into the next game against them, because just the divisional matchups, man, they're scary. They're always scary.
Yeah, they are scary. So I feel like they did say that if Miami was able to make the playoffs, that Tua would play in that playoff game. So, and actually, he played very well in Buffalo earlier this year. They did lose because Jordan Poyer gave up a stupid DPI to his former team. And it all depends today. Tyler Huntley played well against the Browns last week. And honestly, it's the first time in the Mike McDaniel era that a backup quarterback has played well. And it was very refreshing to see. I mean, he really didn't have the most flashy performance, but McDaniel did a good job of stripping back the offense, so get some easy completions to Tyreek Hill for Huntley. And I'd like to see him do that again today. I mean, even though this game is potentially meaningless because we probably won't even make the playoffs because Denver's probably going to beat the Chiefs today, but I think this is a real test for McDaniel because Tua is undoubtedly a guy that is not going to be available a lot of the time. And you, as a coach, you should be able to beat awful teams with a backup quarterback. And he's supposed to be a good offensive mind, and he is a good offensive mind, but he hasn't shown that too much without Tua or against good teams. So today, he really has to prove himself that he can beat. He proved it last week, but he has to prove himself that he can plan a good game plan with Tyler Huntley to beat the Jets, who are awful. And with a playoff spot on the line, I mean, there's no excuse for McDaniel after this game. He has to win this. And he knows it, and the entire team knows it, and they're going to be playing for that today. They're going to be playing for their coach. So I think I am taking them today. I think they will win. I hope they will win. I mean, I'm going there. So I think they'll win, but this is a real prove-it game for McDaniel. And I think they will win, but I don't think that Denver is gonna lose to Kansas City because Denver just has so much to play for this time. I mean, they haven't made the playoffs since 2015. They want it probably more than anyone else in the league right now.
Yeah, I agree with what you said with Mike McDaniel. How this is pretty much his game to lose. I think the Jets are pathetic right now. Sorry, Jets fans. I know this is New York radio, but the Jets are pathetic right now. I don't think anyone's going to deny that. So if he goes out there with a backup quarterback, even with a backup quarterback and a mostly healthy Miami team, and is unable to beat the Jets with a playoff spot potentially on the line, even if Denver wins, I think that is going to be very indicative to the type of head coach that Mike McDaniel is and the type of situation the Dolphins are going to be in with him as their coach moving forward. You know, a good head coach shouldn't only be able to win with one quarterback.
Yeah,
it takes a lot more than that.
No more excuses. He's got to win this. He's got to prove that he can win this. Have a good game plan and beat the Jets.
So we don't have a lot of time left here until we got to go to commercial again. But real quick, what do you think of Denver's chances against Buffalo, assuming they beat Kansas City today?
They won't. They would not beat Buffalo. I mean, Knicks is just so unexperienced in the playoffs. So yeah.
So that is going to do it. Next up, we are talking about the Pro Bowl snubs. Miami and Cincinnati are probably going to miss the playoffs. The Pro Bowl missed out on a lot of really important guys. So we will let you know about that when we get back.
Mm-hmm.
tires? When you think tires, think Tire Discount Center. For over 50 years and 3 locations, all the brands, all the sizes. Want to accessorize your ride? Tire Discount Center. Need auto repair? Tire Discount Center. When you think tires, accessories, remote starters, heated seats, or auto repair and service, think Tire Discount Center and save time, money, and hassles. Dulcin Avenue, Middletown, Route 211, Middletown, Broadway, and Monticello, and online at TireDiscountCenter.com. Tire Discount Center.
Thinking about remodeling your kitchen or bath? Wayne's Way Wholesale Cabinets has a great selection of all wood cabinets in the styles and colors to make your remodeling dreams come to life. Go to WaynesWayCabinets.com for more info. Wayne's Way Cabinets, 1829 South Road, Wappingers Falls. Call 845-280-0880. Stop by and talk to Wayne today. You'll be glad you did.
Need a new oven? Then the place to go is Michael's Appliance Center. They are committed to providing excellent value and service. Whether you need a stove, washer and dryer, or refrigerator, they offer a multitude of products in every price range. Customers at Michael's Appliance Center receive exceptional guidance and support from their highly trained, knowledgeable sales staff. Shop for appliances ranging from dishwashers to outdoor grills. Visit Michael's Appliance Center, 585 Main Street in Middletown, or go online to michaelsappliance.com.
Welcome to a new shopping experience at Market Fresh. Market Fresh stocks more items for you to choose from, including fresh produce from local farms. And they give you more savings each week in every aisle.
Whole pork spare ribs, $1.99 a pound. Tropical mangoes, 4 for $5. Scott bath tissue, 20-roll pack, $17.99 with club card.
Discover a new shopping experience at Market Fresh, Route 17K Newburgh, Fulton Street, Middletown, and Main Street, Poughkeepsie. Open 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday to Saturday, and 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday.
Your life relies on power all day, every day. With winter upon us, winter-related storms and power outages disrupt your home life, work life, and more. Don't be left in the dark. Call Essential Power Systems, your local Generac automatic standby power dealer, protecting your family, home, and business. Already have a Generac? Ask about maintenance, monitors, and cold weather kits. Call Mike the Generator Guy for a free estimate. 845-227-0514. Online at EssentialPowerGenerators.com. Never be powerless. Get Generac by Essential Power Systems.
CDS Auto and Truck Repair is your 5-star one-stop shop for all your vehicle's needs from A to Z, offering full vehicle diagnostics. Towing is available, and they now offer fleet service. CDS Auto and Truck Repair. Call 845-563-9987. That's 845-563-9987. CDS Auto and Truck Repair, 2917 Route 9W, New Windsor.
Boom.
Hello.
We're back, baby. The Pro Bowl. It was pretty good, all in all. This year, I would say the picks were pretty good, but I have a few grievances.
Definitely.
And I know you do too.
Definitely some grievances.
Why don't you tell me one of your grievances first?
So I think my biggest grievance, honestly, as a Dolphins fan, but I just don't understand it, is the AFC tight end selection. Brock Bowers and Travis Kelce made it. I don't think it's justified at all that Travis Kelce made it. I really think Jonnu Smith should have made it. What this reeks of to me is that this is probably one of Travis Kelce's last years playing at the level he's playing, so they're like, let's just write him in one last time. And I just don't think he deserves it. They have similar stats. I mean, Travis Kelce this year has 97 receptions for 823 yards and 3 touchdowns. But Jonnu Smith has 79 receptions for more yards, 828 yards, and 7 touchdowns. So I don't understand. I know Travis Kelce can affect the game in more ways than receiving and scoring touchdowns, but Jonnu's also done that this year. I just don't understand why they wouldn't give it to him. I just feel like they're trying to just pencil in Travis Kelce's name. I don't like that.
In my totally unbiased opinion, because I try not to let any of my biases come across in my commentary, I think Travis Kelce was the right pick. I think that there is a lot of depth to his game that just comes across if you just watch the film. I understand that statistically he's not all there, but and I understand that Jonnu had much better stats this year, but I think Travis Kelce deserved that spot, and I don't think there's any world where he doesn't.
I wonder why he thinks that. But I just don't. That's probably my biggest personal grievance with it, but there's definitely a lot more more egregious grievances than that. I think particularly the wide receivers in the AFC. I mean, Jamar Chase deserved, Jerry Jeudy deserved, Nico Collins deserved, and then Zay Flowers.
What is he doing
there? Why is
there?
he here? Like, there's no reason for him to be here. Brian Thomas Jr. had so much better stats than him. Like, almost every single stat was better than him.
Yeah, better, more yards, more receptions, and more touchdowns, right? And with a much worse quarterback situation. I mean, who has been throwing him the ball these last couple weeks?
Exactly. I mean,
Who?
Mac Jones. The Mac Jones. I just don't understand why they would give it. I feel like this reeks of like, oh, the Ravens are a good team. We got to get another Raven here. They already have 9 Pro Bowlers this year. I don't understand why they put him in there. It just doesn't make sense to me. I feel like Brian Thomas Jr. is the one, but I would have been okay with like George Pickens, Tyreek Hill.
I think Pickens, his argument in the later half of the season isn't nearly as strong as Thomas Jr. And Tyreek Hill kind of suffers from the same effect as Travis Kelce, where his impact is more in the threat of him as opposed to what he actually did this season. So I would definitely lean heavy on Brian Thomas Jr., but I have no idea what Zay Flowers is doing there.
Yeah, it's definitely the elephant in the room there.
Yeah, it's like a pack of pit bulls walking around, and then they just got a little chihuahua with them. It's just so strange to me. One of my big grievances from this season's Pro Bowl picks was the AFC cornerback list. Derek Stingley Jr., Pat Surtain, Marlon Humphreys, and Denzel Ward. I like all of these guys except for one. He kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. And again, it's another Raven, Marlon Humphreys. What are you doing on this list, man? I get it. You're good, really good historically. And I'm speaking directly to Marlon Humphreys right now. I get it. You're good. And I get that in a lot of years, this season would probably warrant a Pro Bowl, but not over Trent McDuffie and definitely not over Christian Gonzalez. I have a little bit of a Chiefs bias. I would have put Trent McDuffie there, but I think Christian Gonzalez probably deserved it a little more. He's been playing out of his mind this year on a Patriots defense that is giving him zero help whatsoever.
I disagree. I mean, you look at the completion percentage, it's definitely higher than Christian Gonzalez, but 6 interceptions is definitely nothing to scoff at. 1 touchdown off of that. I think that's enough to get you in the Pro Bowl these days and age. I mean, 6 interceptions, that's pretty good.
Yeah, but the defensive back position is so much more than just the amount of interceptions that you can get. And you saw it with a guy like Trayvon Diggs a couple years ago on the Cowboys when he had this season where he had a ton of interceptions, just so many interceptions. But he would go out there and he would get cooked by guys. It was like every play he didn't get a pick, he was getting cooked. And it makes me wonder how much. Obviously, interceptions are important to the game. They can be completely game changing, but they are not the only factor for a defensive back. It's like basing who your defensive player of the year is off of who got the most sacks. You know, there's a lot more to the edge rusher position than just getting sacks. Just like how there's a lot more to the defensive back position than there is just getting interceptions.
I think another interesting thing in the Pro Bowl this year is the AFC quarterbacks. There's Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and Lamar Jackson. And this a big one here is no Mahomes justified this year over these 3?
There's nobody that I'd take off this list to put Mahomes on, honestly. Is Mahomes the best quarterback out of these 4 guys? Yes. Did he have the best season out of these 4 guys? No. He definitely did not play to the same caliber that a guy like Joe Burrow or Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson were. And, you know, I think it's fuel under the fire once again. I think that this is not going to, you know, at the end of the day, it is just the Pro Bowl. You know, as a Chiefs fan, which for those of you watching or listening to this on the radio, I showed a Chiefs jersey earlier, or a Chiefs shirt earlier while I was talking about Travis Kelce. You missed out on that. Go watch us on YouTube, WGNY News Talk Sports on YouTube. A little plug there. But yeah, I just don't think there's any world where you can really justify Mahomes over any of the 3 guys that they picked.
Not this year, I don't think.
One thing that I noticed with the NFC quarterbacks, Jaden Daniels, first year starting, and he made the NFC Pro Bowl with Jared Goff and Sam Darnold. What do you think?
I think it's deserved, but I could definitely see them putting Baker over him. I mean, I like Jaden Daniels, but Goff and Sam Darnold definitely deserve to make it. But Jaden Daniels, I think, is the weakest link there. But I'm okay with it. I could see Baker over him, though. Like, the argument can be made.
I think you're wrong there. I don't think Jaden Daniels is the weakest link out of these 3 quarterbacks. I think it's Sam Darnold. And look, I understand.
makes no sense.
Statistically, I understand that statistically he's been completely insane and he's been great and he's led this Minnesota offense, which has been just so good. But he's throwing to Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, two guys who year in and year out have been proven to be able to cover up the weaknesses of their quarterback. You look at Jaden Daniels, he's throwing to Terry McLaurin, great wide receiver, not the kind of guy that can really cover up a quarterback's weaknesses. I mean, you saw it when Washington had Sam Howell as their quarterback or Taylor Heineke as their quarterback. He was not able to make those guys look like studs. Justin Jefferson can come out and make any quarterback in the league look like a stud. So I'm not saying 100% Sam Darnold doesn't deserve the Pro Bowl nod because he's still been playing fantastic football. I just think that it's perfectly justified to say that Baker deserves to be there more than him.
That's just not true. I don't think that Baker does not pass down the field as well as Sam Darnold. I don't think if Baker was on the Vikings, he would just not be as good as Sam Darnold. I know that's not what the Pro Bowl is. It's who had the better season, and Sam Darnold just had the better season than Baker.
Yeah, I guess it's just a lot of what the Pro Bowl actually requires. It just, sometimes the criteria for what constitutes a Pro Bowl season doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You take a guy, look back at the AFC tight ends, Travis Kelce versus Jonnu Smith. I mean, Jonnu beat Travis in pretty much every stat on less receptions, and he still didn't get the nod. That's the thing with the Pro Bowl is that sometimes it's just so hard to tell what actually constitutes a Pro Bowl season. Is it how well your team is doing? Is it how well you're doing? Is it how well you mesh with your team? Is it how productive your team's offense is when you're on the field? I feel like sometimes they just kind of throw whoever in those Pro Bowl.
I mean, Tyler Huntley made a Pro Bowl. So
yeah, Tyler Huntley and Derek Carr.
Tyler Huntley made a Pro Bowl.
Yeah, that's the thing about the Pro Bowl is
it's meaningless.
Yeah, it's not the same. It'll never be the same.
But that's just how it is. I mean, it's definitely worth talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's worth talking about just because I think these kinds of conversations are interesting based on, who we think got missed out and why they got missed out. I mean, Brian Thomas Jr., you could say, well, he's a rookie. He hasn't metaphorically kissed the ring in the NFL yet in order to warrant a Pro Bowl. But then Jaden Daniels is here when Brian Thomas Jr. is arguably having a better rookie wide receiver season than Jaden Daniels is having a rookie quarterback season.
I guess there can be an argument there, but quarterback is just a more important position.
But that's the thing. Quarterback is a much more important position on the field. So there's so much to it, and there's so many facets that I kind of just say whoever with the Pro Bowl. I think the only really, truly egregious miss was Zay Flowers over Brian Thomas Jr. I think the rest of these guys, they have a perfectly valid argument for whether or not they should be in the Pro Bowl or not. And that's going to do it for our first episode of Jake's Hot Takes. That is going to be our time for today. I hope you gained some incredible football knowledge that you can use to school your coworkers at the water cooler tomorrow in the office. Make sure to be back here next Thursday at noon for our next episode. It's going to be very exciting. The playoff matchups are going to be set in stone, so we're going to be giving you our takes on that. Make sure to be right back here on WGNY 94.5, 1220, News Talk Sports. We hope you enjoyed our broadcast of Jake's Hot Takes today, and I started this outro a little too early, so I'm going to throw out one last hot take for you guys. This NFC North division this year is the best total division in football that we have ever seen. I don't think it's that hot of a take. Shout out to all my NFC North fans. Shout out to all my Packers fans. Shout out to Vikings and Lions fans, Bears fans.
We're sorry.
You're done. All right. Thank you all.